Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Wisdom Wednesday. I am Iforonke Dedre Prescott, and today we are taking a rich and inspiring journey into Psalm chapter 92. This ancient text offers insights into what it means to flourish, especially as we navigate the third of our lives. So grab your journal, make yourself comfortable, and let us dig into wisdom that transcends time and boundaries. What does it mean to flourish in the third of our lives? Is it even possible? These questions intrigued me recently during a light-hearted chat with my Naprima Girls High School class of 70 on WhatsApp. The conversation, initially sparked by Older Persons Day, soon led us to the profound insights of Psalms chapter 92, verses 12 to 14. Today, I want to unpack the wisdom contained in this ancient text, specifically focusing on how it can guide us to live fully in the latter chapters of our lives. Sid Wilson humorously brought up Older Persons Day, and June Thomas added that we were maturing gracefully. It was Denise Thompson who then drew our attention to Psalms chapter 92, suggesting that this text holds the key to truly flourishing as we age. Intrigued by Denise's challenge, I embarked on a journey to explore the chapter's deeper layers. So if you are not familiar with Psalms 92, you might want to grab a copy to follow along. We will dive into the metaphors, symbolism, and spiritual principles that underscore the promises and conditions for sustained growth and wisdom, especially in our later years. As we explore what it means to flourish, it is worth reflecting on the wisdom of the psalmist David in Psalm 92. This chapter, sung on the Sabbath, a day of rest, reflection, and celebration of God's goodness, reveals how our ability to flourish is interconnected with our spiritual journey. This context is essential because it lays the foundation for understanding the promises and conditions laid out in the latter verses. Let us first set the stage by exploring verses 1 through 4 of the psalm. Verses 1 to 4 emphasize the joy and duty in proclaiming God's love and faithfulness. They set the stage for gratitude and mindfulness, both pivotal in understanding God's works. Starting with verses 1 through 4, the psalmist proclaims the joy of giving thanks, laying the foundation that gratitude and the conscious act of recognizing God's steadfastness are integral to our spiritual journey. Having laid this foundation with verses 1 through 4, let us now delve into the contrasting outcomes presented in verses 5 to 9. These verses outline God's mighty acts and the eventual fate of the wicked. This contrast helps highlight the outcomes of different life choices. These verses draw a clear demarcation between God's greatness and the ultimate fall of the wicked. It is a reminder that our actions, intentions, and the paths we choose have consequences. With a clear understanding of the contrasting paths, we can now better appreciate the psalmist's personal testament in verses 10 and 11. The psalmist's personal relationship and experience with God provides a testament to God's protective and rewarding nature. These two verses echo personal testimony, highlighting that relationship and direct experience with the divine are paramount. It is not just about knowing of God, but knowing Him intimately. Have you ever paused and speculated on who has a more intimate knowledge of their parents' patience, goodness, forgiving spirit, and benevolence? Is it the child who does no wrong? Or is it the child who, through their willful and adventurous nature, has repeatedly disobeyed guidance and instructions that were clearly given? King David certainly was speaking from more than belief. He knew. Armed with this context, the metaphors in verses 12 to 14 become all the more powerful. Verses 12 to 14 offer us an uplifting metaphor. Imagine resilience and growth not as traits exclusive to youth, but as attributes we can cultivate even as we approach the third of our lives. Just as the psalmist describes the righteous as flourishing like a palm tree, so too can we embrace that resilience and vitality regardless of our age. This verse often serves as an encouragement that even as we age, we can still produce valuable contributions, fruit, and remain vibrant, always green and full of sap. In these verses, the psalmist speaks of righteous people flourishing like a palm tree and growing like a cedar in Lebanon. Now let us pause to deeply consider the symbols that the psalmist employs to convey these messages. Let us linger on this idea of flourishing. The palm and cedar trees symbolize vitality, longevity, and resilience, all core elements of flourishing in any stage of life, but especially meaningful as we age. The entire chapter of Psalms 92 is focused on praising God for His deeds and His nature. And in verse 12, it celebrates the righteousness and justice of God and revels in the notion that those who are righteous will flourish like a palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Psalms 92 not only glorifies God for His eternal righteousness, but also paints a hopeful portrait of human life under His guidance. Verse 14 specifically serves as a comforting reminder that even as we advance in our years, our capacity for generating fruit does not diminish. Whether that fruit comes in the form of wisdom, love, guidance, or even new endeavors. Instead, like a well-nourished tree, we remain green and full of sap. Our branches may bear the marks of time and experience, but they are ever capable of new growth and renewal. The essence of many spiritual teachings, including those in Christianity, lies not just in verbal affirmations, but in lived experiences and actions. In the context of Psalms chapter 92, verse 14, one could argue that the fruitfulness and vitality in old age are conditional upon how one has lived their life in alignment with spiritual principles. The fruit metaphor could be seen as a direct result of the soil we have cultivated throughout our lives, nourished by actions, decisions, and spiritual adherence. Like any tree that bears nourishing fruit, the roots must be deep, drawing from a reservoir of spiritual, emotional, and ethical nourishment. Yet, it is worth noting that this nourishment isn't solely spiritual or emotional. It is also physical. Just as a tree requires proper soil, sunlight, and water to flourish, we too require proper physical care. Eating well, exercising, and tending to our bodies are not separate from our spiritual lives, but integral to it. In old age, this physical care becomes even more crucial, influencing our capacity to remain green and full of sap, to continue producing fruit in the form of wisdom, love, and guidance. I find Psalm chapter 92, verse 14, an incredibly promising verse, but it is worth noting that the grace of a fruitful old age, as suggested in this scripture, is not a guarantee, but rather a reflection of the life we have led. The psalm suggests a form of spiritual exchange. Our ability to remain green and full of sap in later years is intrinsically linked to our devotion, actions, and adherence to spiritual teachings throughout our lives. It is a call to authentic living rather than mere lip service to faith. While Psalm 92 is rooted in the Judaic Christian tradition, its essence transcends boundaries. Taking all these rich layers into account, let us draw some overarching conclusions. The promise of a life that flourishes in its latter stages is not just a Christian tenet, but a universal hope. However, like all promises, it is conditional on the quality of life we lead, the depth of our relationship with the divine, and our adherence to spiritual principles. We can use all the right words and gestures, but unless we are consistent in our devotion and actions, the promise of a flourishing third could elude us. In essence, Psalm 92 teaches us that to flourish in our latter years is not just a hopeful wish, but a spiritual promise. Yet, it remains conditional on how we cultivate the soil of our lives. The call to flourish serves as an encouragement and challenge for us all. It is both a reward for a life well lived and an inspiration to live each day to its fullest. Let us dig deeper into our individual psychological tendencies, personal desires, biases, and holier-than-thou attitudes towards those we consider outside our exclusive circles. Be those circles religious, intellectual, race, and the multiple other notions we use to justify judgment and superiority. Let us ensure that we haven't inadvertently forfeited our claim of being able to flourish in our third. Spiritual flourishing is a communal journey, not one to be taken in isolation or exclusivity. It is about compassion, forgiveness, sharing, understanding, and uplifting each other in love and unity. The story of King David is not just a biblical tale, but a universal lesson that has informed my perspective, especially as I navigate the third of my own life. King David, flawed yet deeply human, shows us that our worth is not determined by our past actions, but by our ongoing efforts to grow and serve. This lesson has uplifted me in moments when my past weighed heavily on my conscience. His life encourages me to confront my shortcomings without being shackled by them. King David's journey teaches us the power of humility over pride and the importance of genuine repentance. His transformation, which I believe was deepened by his own mistakes, offers a clarity that is as relevant today as it was millennia ago. And this is not unique to any one belief system. It is a universal truth acknowledged across various spiritual and philosophical traditions. Whether we identify with Christianity, Ifa, Buddhism, or any other spiritual path, the essence of King David's story is a necessary narrative that keeps us all grounded and authentic. Thank you, Sid, June, and Denise, for your valuable contributions. This has been both a fun and enlightening journey into the depths of Psalms 92, verse 14. I have come away with some practical steps and thought-provoking questions, and I invite you all to delve into these as well. Daily reflection. Take a few minutes each day to meditate on a verse or mantra that uplifts, considering how it applies to our current stage in life. Active gratitude. I know for me, while I try to be consciously grateful, this may take some focus and determination to implement. But making it a habit to list at least 3 things we are grateful for each day is a simple act that can shift our mindset and help us focus on life's blessings. Seeking wisdom. Let us engage in conversations with people who are at different stages of life than we are. The perspectives gained can be eye-opening and nourishing for our souls. Creative outlet. Whether it's painting, writing, or gardening, engage in an activity that allows you to express yourself and tap into your inner wisdom. Community. Find or build a community that supports your spiritual journey. This could be a virtual group, a local church, or simply a circle of friends who encourage your growth. Now, here are some questions we can ponder. In what ways do you feel you are flourishing as you age? Are there any belief systems or ideologies you have found that resonate with you at this stage in life? And how open are you to wisdom that comes from sources other than those you have been nurtured in? How do you interpret Psalm 92:14 in the context of your own life experiences? And last, but by no means least, what are some of the ways you are implementing the wisdom of the ages into your third of life? In our journey through life, especially as we navigate the unique challenges and blessings of our later years, let us remember that flourishing is not just a stage of life, but a state of being. The wisdom of the ages encapsulated so beautifully in Psalms chapter 92 verse 14 invites us to blossom, to bear fruit, and to remain vital in all seasons of our existence. Whether you find yourself in the spring, summer, fall, or winter of your life, know that there is always room to flourish. And with that, let's carry this wisdom into our daily lives, enriching not just ourselves, but also those around us. That wraps up our exploration of Psalm chapter 92. And now we can embrace flourishing at any stage of life. If you enjoyed today's episode, do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might also find value in it. As always, I encourage you to carry this wisdom into your daily lives, enriching not just yourselves, but also those around you. May you all find your own unique ways to flourish as the righteous, deeply planted trees described in this psalm. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next Wisdom Wednesday, stay wise, stay blessed.